make as far as what is your favorite day, like why, and how can you actually take advantage of your time versus waste it away. So
I love that. I love that. I feel the same. I feel like the weekend, even though now the days kind of seem like it's all the same, but it's true that I allow myself to rest a little more. We have a lot less calls during the weekend here at Hack Mankind. And so it's kind of, and then Monday, it's like, all right, back to, it's like we stare back to the beginning, like, let's do this.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. And so, yeah, choices is our theme, like you mentioned, for the week. And today's hack is there's always an option C, right? A lot of times, if there's only one option, there isn't really any option. And people say there's two options, but really, that's not it. There's always an option C. What do you think about that?
I feel like there's an option A through Z. Like, I feel like it doesn't even stop at your third option. And I love, I've kind of just created this little game with myself, and I call it the what if game. And for me, it's like, okay, there's a circumstance, whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's losing a job, whether it's whatever it may be. And I love to play this game of what if this is trying to tell me something different? Like, what if this is serving me somehow? What if this means that now I've got more time for my family, for my loved ones, for projects that now I'm not being pulled in a different direction that maybe I wasn't loving in the first place? Like, what if this is that blessing that I've actually been waiting for? And I was telling one of the women that I coach about this, and she had also seen and come to the retreat that I held last year. And she says it was so beautiful when you first introduced this concept, because she says, you got really giddy. And I do, like, I get giddy thinking about that. Like, what if this is for our benefit? And, talking to women that have endured some kind of injury, illness, accident, there's this constant battle within them of, actually, I've heard this more than once of, if I accept what's happening, then it wins. Like, if I'm happy, then my disability is won somehow. And for me, it's, what if that's losing? Like, not accepting it, not allowing yourself to be happy, like that feels like such a loss for me. And so we started playing this game. Like, what else could this disability mean for you? What else could this, I call them SDCs, seemingly disabling circumstances. What if this seemingly disabling circumstance is for your benefit? What if this is opening the door that you've been dying to break open? What if this is strengthening you in ways that you were craving but really couldn't have the guts to really go for in the first place? Like, what if this is literally there for you on a platter of saying, okay, this is growth time, this is go time, this is glow time. Like, what time is it for you? And I think that that's a power we have within ourselves. And it doesn't even mean that you have to accept all of these options, A, B, C, D, we could go on, but it means that you get to get curious about them and play with it a little bit and just have some fun with it. It doesn't have to be super heavy. It can be super playful. And what if, right? What if this is giving you something that you've actually been wanting? And I say that regarding my injury, my accident, is in the weirdest, most bizarre way, it gave me everything I've ever wanted. It gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a reason to be in front of a camera or on a stage or in front of people. And that's just where I tend to come alive. I was talking about this last night on my live call on Instagram of what sets your soul on fire. Like, go there, allow yourself to go there. And for me, it's moments like this. These set my soul on fire. And before my accident, I had nothing to talk about. I had no reason to be on a camera, on a stage, in front of people talking. I had nothing to really offer. I had no real grit and life experience yet. And now I do.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that share. And we're having some beautiful comments here on Zoom and also on the Facebook Live. Thank you for tuning in. If you're listening in from all over the world, like Sarah mentioned, it's morning time for her, afternoon time for me, maybe it's evening time for you. We will be here every Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern time with Sarah, and have a bunch of goodies and only VIP content only accessible if you sign up at www.hackmankind.com. And so head on over there. The first 1,000 members are free. So I don't see why not. Just give it a try. www.hackmankind.com. And so Sarah, you're so inspiring, and it's so true. I love that idea of what if, and to play with that. And we have Dave. Thank you so much for sharing, Dave. Dave says, absolutely, every challenge is an opportunity to turn our greatest fears into our biggest achievements. That's exactly how life has worked out for me since I started going blind. So thank you so much for that share. And I'm really appreciative of all the comments coming in. If you have any questions for Sarah, please do not hesitate. For our VIPs on Zoom, head on over to the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and type in your questions, your comments on the chat box. And on Facebook, write us some comments. I already see a bunch of things in hearts, and we love the hearts, so give us the
Bring
heart.
on the hearts.
And we'll go from there. And Sarah, I think one of the questions that popped up to me, because sometimes we feel like, you know, the people that are on screen, you look amazing, you have such a beautiful energy. It's like, oh, but her life seems perfect, right? And when I would guess my thing, that's not it. That's not true. We all have our moments where we have to practice, and we have to practice our what ifs. So would you mind sharing one that's happened recently for you?
Let's think about that. You know, I think it's this idea of just continuing a schedule when there is, like, you've got all the excuse in the world to not have a schedule right now. And for me, you know, I was starting to slip a little bit, and, you know, this is not a regular, like, I'm not quote unquote looking perfect all the time. I'm not always dolled up, although that is actually one of my hacks, is getting up and getting ready for the day. I do feel that that impression we're making with ourselves, even on a regular basis, is vital. But that's a choice. That is a choice to get up. That is a choice to get ready. And someone else was actually asking me during the week of, you know, the healing process looked really easy for you too. And it wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. It took a solid 2.5 years of just totally diving into it and making that choice week after week to stick with it. You know, and I say 2 years, and that's because that's when I started. And honestly, now I realize it's never over, right? Like, there's always another layer. But I feel like about a year into actually opening the door, facing the healing process that I needed to go through, facing therapy, support groups, personal development, actually getting really honest with myself, was a very clear and deliberate choice that I had to make pretty much daily and moment to moment. Because just like the girls were saying, there's this opportunity for the other side of that, which is not accepting it, staying in the grieving process, perhaps maybe longer than you really need to, because you're just not wanting to face the recovery of it. And, you know, my recovery journey is something that I still choose every single day. And yes, it gets easier. Yes, I'm to a place where I actually look forward to those moments of struggle, because I know what they're offering me. I'm almost a little bizarre in that way. Like, okay, now what am I learning? Now what do I get to go in and learn now? Like, this is, okay, this is going to be hard. Okay, well, I know what hard did for me last time, so let's go. But it wasn't like that in the beginning. And so it's a choice. It's a choice to say, I want to heal. I want to heal. I'm going to do what I need to do to heal. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to face the reality. I'm going to start by just trying to accept the circumstance that we cannot get through the phases of healing until we get to that place of acceptance. And then we get to embrace, and then we get to actually use it to our advantage. But acceptance is the key. Accepting, okay, this is my reality. My reality is in a wheelchair. My reality is I'm in my house for another month till May 31st, until who knows what's happening after that. That's a reality. So the first step is accepting, okay, this is what's happening. Now what am I going to do with it? What if? Now we get to start playing the what if game. And then my next kind of hack is the next question that I like to ask myself of, does this nourish me? Does this nourish me? Is it nourishing my mind, my body, and my soul? And you can ask that about anything. And maybe nourish isn't a word that really works for you, but find something that works. Does this help me? Does this serve me? Whatever word kind of resonates with your soul. But I love the word nourish, because there's no right or wrong to that word. It's just, does it feel good? Does it feel like it's feeding me in some way? And I ask this about what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, what I'm eating, what I'm doing, the people I'm surrounding myself with, what I'm choosing to do with my time. Is it nourishing my soul? Is it nourishing my body? Is it nourishing my mind? And if the answer is no, okay, forgive it and choose again. Or say, you know what? Right now, I'm just not in the mood to be nourished. I just kind of want to binge watch for a minute. But I finally allowed myself to start a show, and I'm really regretting it, because I knew what would happen. I'd be like, okay, now I got to finish this sucker. So, but I had resisted for until about a week ago is when I finally was like, okay, I'm going to push play. But I get so excited about just personal development stuff and the books I'm reading and the podcasts I'm listening to that I just didn't really have time for the shows. So
that's awesome. What show are you starting to watch?
It's Better Call Saul. It's like a naughty show. I don't even know why I went from like super good to super naughty. But but I had started it long ago, and then I was like, okay, let's start that sucker up again.
It's good. Sometimes you need to do a little something that disconnects, right? And that totally
Totally.
And it's okay. I have that hack as well. Not that I use it very often. I kind of forgot. So thank you for the reminder. I had two questions: is do I like it? Do I love it? Does it serve me? So Nutella, for example, do I like it? Oh yeah. Does it serve me? Maybe not. If my priorities right now is to stay healthy, maybe Nutella is not the best idea. Although for those who know me, I love Nutella. So you're talking about how you usually get very compelled and love personal development books and learning new things. So what have been the latest ones that you really love?
Well, I ended up starting the Ultimate Edge with Tony Robbins. I'm such a dear fan of Tony Robbins and everything that he offers. So I started doing the Ultimate Edge, which I really am loving. It's almost like a daily thing, and it's takes you pretty deep pretty quickly, which I love. But I love podcasts. I'm really a big fan of Gold Digger, but Jenny Kutcher, things that are helping me propel my brand, Vertical Blonde, as well as the fitness program, Disability Icon, ways that I can actually get the word out even more. For me, I always had this struggle with selling, right? With this exchange of services for goods or for money. And that I'm really good about talking about things. And then it was that moment of, okay, flip it into a sell, or, okay, are you going to charge? And if not, that actually doesn't even serve your client. So really kind of learning the psychology of marketing and sales, and that it's not a bad thing to charge for your services. That was somehow ingrained in me, I think from a really young age for some reason, that asking for money was always a really hard thing. So it tended to bring something up for me. So I've just been getting curious about that and teaching myself, really, investing my time in learning the tips of that trade. So
I love that you mentioned that. And what's really cool, I love for those watching, tuning in, make sure you go and have your free access to www.hackmankind.com, because very soon, Peter, our founder, will be launching a business course that you will have priority access to, and there's some discount codes on there on doing your business online. So if you're also interested in that and you're doing what Sarah's doing and learning about sales and about launching things online and having your business more in online, especially at this moment, and you're a little overwhelmed, which can happen, head on over www.hackmankind. Peter will definitely be there to support you, and watch the recording we had of today's call. We had an incredible call with him. That was our panel call. So I love that you mentioned that, Sarah, and it relates back to this idea of vertical mindset, right? You notice there's an area that you may not be so proficient in, or you have limiting beliefs around. And instead of saying, oh, I have limiting beliefs, I'm just not good at sales, right? I'm just not good at this. You're like, oh, interesting. And the word you used, I'm going to go and I think it was explore or discover. And it sounds fun, it sounds curious, and you're doing it in such a wonderful way. And it sounds like it's not only applicable to sales, it's applicable to anything in life, and it's just a mindset to it. Would you say that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that once I started doing it as more of an exploration and having fun with it, I'm learning this with my son, Charlie. Like, if it's not fun, he's not interested. And I think that that goes for us as adults too. Like, that never ends. If it's not going to be fun, we're not going to be interested. And for me, if this was kind of me before, that if I wasn't good at it, I wasn't interested. And so I would really only put myself in those positions of, I'm good at this, so I'm going to go for it. So things tended to come easy for me, but it was because I was only going for the things that I knew were going to be easy. And realizing that within myself has been a game changer. It's like I was just staying in my lane, cruising right along, cruise control was on, things looked really easy and peachy. And even, the day of my accident, I said those words that, man, my life is perfect right now. There's nothing about it I would change. Well, life was really easy. I was going for the things that were easy to attain. And I really flipped that switch for me of, I want to be better in a lot of different areas. I want to always challenge myself. I want to push myself. I want to really create things that are very new to me. And if I'm exploring that, I get to have a lot of fun with it. And then I'm learning and I'm growing at the same time.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that and shifting that. And we have Dave Steele that wants to say hi to you, Sarah. The blind poet says hi, he said. So thank you so much.
I love that.
Dave.
Hi, Dave. He touched my heart on the Unblinded Sales Mastery.
Yes, I remember. I was there too. You're amazing. Thank you for joining us and tuning in. And to all those online and tuned in, please do not hesitate. Enter in your comments, questions. We have about 10 minutes left with Sarah. So go on, put on your questions, add your comments, and I would be really happy to discuss them with you. One of the things that you mentioned, Sarah, is that you're making it fun. However, you want to challenge yourself. So do you say that you look at the hard things and then make them easier, or just make them fun? Like, what's the distinction there?
Well, I think it first has to be something that I'm already interested in. And I think that's the key. Like, again, going back to my little boy, like, I have to find a way to tie it into something that he's already interested in. And so if we can tie it in, or if we can start there, then the interest is going to drive you, and you're going to be like, okay, like, this is actually something that I want to learn more about, or want to be better about. And then that's going to actually create some momentum. And the momentum, once you can find the momentum, that's going to be key, because you're going to generate some energy around it, and you're going to want to keep going. But if the interest isn't there, then I'm not interested. We've got so many things coming at us right now. And I don't know about you, but it is like a deep, dark black hole. Like once you go into like scrolling on the social media or, start looking at something online, I'm like, how in the world did I get here from there? And so when things are coming at us and our attention spans seem to get shorter and shorter by the day, we have to start with where our interest is. And for me, it's really growing like a purposeful brand. And that happened very much by accident. I'd set out to kind of start a blog to really follow my healing journey. And when we moved out to Maui, I thought that the islands were going to heal me and I was going to start walking again. I was going to find the right crazy healers out here and, miracles would be happening. And what I didn't realize was this mental and emotional healing that needed to take place. So it all started with just the friends and family back home wanting to stay up to date on my healing journey. And so I was like, okay, I'll just start a blog. I'll keep everyone updated on this. And the stories began to have not only this tone of what I was doing, but there was always like this emotional lesson behind each one. And so I realized that that was kind of my hack. Like there's always something that we can learn from everything, from every scenario with Charlie, with every time I maybe fell out of my chair and had to get back up on my own, or whatever it was. There was always like this, I think of like Full House, right? Like there's a story and then at the end, there's always that great lesson, there's that emotional lesson or that lesson that he gets to teach the kids out of what they went through. And I feel like that's what became for me is I had all these little lessons that I got to share based on what I was going through, and they became really applicable for a lot of people. And so it started to gain momentum. And so then I started looking at everything in that way. Like, is this going to make a good story? Is this going to make a good story? Because I learned a whole lot right here. I bet more people would be able to benefit from that. So it started to gain this life of its own. And the vertical mindset sort of came out on its own. It took on a life of its own, really. And the name, even Vertical Blonde, it came out, realizing that our words have power. And it's like, okay, the blonde hair, I've always been known for that. And, how can I use these words in such a way? And then the vertical mindset out of that and living vertically, and it became my platform. And it's just kept going. But there has to be an interest first. And the interest for me started with, what lesson can I bring out of this story? And so I started to crave that lesson. And what I didn't realize at the time was that's perspective. That is the essence of what perspective is. It's finding new meaning in the seemingly ordinary and the things that we go through and the stories from our childhood or the things we're going through now. Finding new meaning is perspective, and the perspective is power. Once you can take control of and have a sense of power with your perspective of, I'm going to use this to my advantage, that changes the game. That changes absolutely everything.
I love that, Sarah, and you intuitively just answered one of our questions that we have here in the Q&A. It was, how did you find out what you wanted to do, and did you ever doubt yourself?
Well, the doubt is daily, okay? I will tell you, the doubt is all the time. Am I good enough for this? Do people want to hear what I have to say? That doubt is constant. There is a part of me inside that is very critical. I talked last week about parts work and how we kind of have these different personas within ourselves, and that parts work became really powerful for me. But there is a very critical and judgmental part inside of me that critiques everything I do. It is always perking up of, that's not good enough, that's stupid, or people aren't going to want to hear that, or whatever. And luckily, I've given a lot more voice and volume to the other parts of me that are saying, no, there's something special here. And I think that we have to remember that there's something special in all of us. And going back to what I said in the beginning of what sets your soul on fire, your soul. For me, it is finding the lesson, it is flipping the perspective, like really truly embracing that. And then it is a camera or an audience. There's something that sets my soul on fire. And so now I get to blend these two soul burners, right? Of giving purpose and having an audience. And to me, it's like I've won the lottery. I've truly found what I get so excited for this. Like, this is what all of that stuff in my history, from my childhood to the accident to lessons along the way to relationships to jobs, everything has set me up for this. And so if we can look at all of our experiences as setting us up for this, as things to put on our resume or a life resume. I know Jesse Itzler talks about that. If we can use all of these to put on our own resume, for lack of a better word, then what is it setting us up for? And when you kind of mark all those boxes, you found your purpose. So get curious, play the what if game. What if this is setting me up for that thing that I've been wanting my whole life? Maybe I'm too scared to even admit that I really want. And what is it? What is it that sets me on fire? What is it that ignites my soul, that makes me feel electric? There is something for everyone. And if you're saying, I don't know what that is, then that's your first step. Start exploring, start having fun, start journaling, look for trends in your life, the things that perk up. Ask your friends and family. I started to kind of play this little game, and I put up something on my Instagram of, when you think of me or Vertical Blonde, what do you think of? And I wanted to see, am I getting the message out that I truly intend to get out? And one of the things that came up that I didn't think of, because I'm thinking of purpose and I'm thinking of, yes, I want to make an impression with myself, but something that came up was beauty. People want to know how to feel more beautiful. And so giving those hacks, even beauty hacks of how people can feel more beautiful. And that's another gift that I can share, because I've played around with a lot of makeup, played around with a lot of looks. Like, there's nothing I love more than getting dressed up and playing around with that kind of stuff. And I found things that really work, and I found skincare that really works. And like, I've got something to share too on that. But that all came from life experience. That came from a previous job. That came from all these things that are setting me up. So ask friends and family, get curious, but at the end of the day, what sets your soul on fire?
I love that, Sarah. And we have a couple more questions. However, I'm conscious of the time. We've already done our 30 minutes. So I will put this question. We have an anonymous question from our VIP. Please tune in to our next call next Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and we will answer that question. So we have a question about how, that person would have been devastated. How do you get yourself back into a peak emotional state? So we can talk about what is a peak state and how to get there. And so, Sarah, are you good that we'll put that one to the side and we'll answer it next week? And just
Perfect.
as a reminder, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we want to say thank you to all our frontline responders, any nurses, teachers, teachers, doctors, police officers, firefighters. You are welcome to join our membership at any time for free. We want to support you in any way we possibly can, and this is our way of showing our thanks. At any time you sign up, it is free. For everybody else, it is the first 1,000 members are free, so please head on over www.hackmankind.com, and we have a whole new schedule tomorrow starting 8 a.m. with our founders call on Facebook, and then you will also get an email with the whole schedule for the day. So excited. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sarah, some final words before we go?
What if? Just play the what if game. Start by getting curious. What if? What if this means something completely different?
I love that. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I look forward in seeing y'all tomorrow during our calls and seeing you, Sarah, next week, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Bye. Take care, guys.
Aloha.